Hey everyone, it's Jason here. I've just finished and submitted my VizForSocialGood project just before. VizForSocialGood is actually a volunteer community that helps ultimately data visualization around different social causes. So this time around, this project is specifically supported by Kiron Open Higher Education, a online learning platform for refugees. So it's been a privilege to actually work on this project over like the last couple of weeks. So this is the output that I've got to, and the title of it's Understanding Our Path. So originally, most of the data sets that they looked at was around different refugees and migrants, and some of the data sets link back into different events, so weather events, and there's also a bit of information about missing migrants. So when going through that context, I then went back and actually had a look at some of the things that I experienced over like the last few years, and one of them was actually catching up with Michael from Chatloop. So Chatloop is a chat platform where they're linking volunteers with refugees to help learn English through chat. So I met Michael and Chatloop a couple of years ago at a hackathon at UQ. He went through the iLab accelerator at that point in time and went through that, and we started talking about learning languages and support services and different things around even just gaining empathy around the conversations that people have around normal conversations, social conversations, as opposed to a traditional learning path. So that was pretty much my starting point, and then linking that back to the stories that migrants and refugees had into Australia and into a learning path that so that was pretty much where I started from. And when I started looking at the who, I then looked at some of the people that were coming into Australia, so different countries, different programs, and landed on different what is my top four. So that's where I pretty much started from. So why did I look at that? I then started thinking, okay, why did they come? What is their story? How did they choose Australia to come to? So around the four different countries I looked at, I then started looking at what is their story. So just doing a general search, I then started looking at some of the things that the BBC reported on in terms of different countries. So that's where I started looking at what are the different events and what is the story. It wasn't necessarily a personal story, it wasn't necessarily a statistical story, but definitely gave me a sense as far as what was happening in these kind of areas. So linking to the people and then their story, I then brought it forward in terms of what happened when they got here. So in terms of settlements, I then looked at the census data that we had, focused on different areas and what is the impact on language. So in terms of the census, we looked at the language proficiency, not well, not at all, speaks English only, or very well, or well. So I then dived in terms of that, in terms of what support, what is their story in terms of settling in Australia. I then took an angle around, okay, what are the different services and what are the support services do we have around people settling in Australia? So some of the statistics and some of the open data that I found, probably more from a local perspective within Queensland, is around some of the support services that in this case, Community Child Safety and Disability, as well as the Queensland Department of Department of Health and the hospital services. Something I need to fix up there, but yeah, what is their investment in terms of supporting interpreters and language support? So definitely something there that they do whilst people are here. But fantastic that we have this network. But what else? What else are people doing? And this is where it's probably not a case of here's some more data, but here's a couple more stories I've got. Chat Loop, definitely one of them, and another one that's actually not necessarily here, but one that's based in Indonesia. One of my colleagues is actually doing some volunteer work up there, providing just this one-on-one social interaction around learning a new language. So this is part of my my submission for VizForSocialGood, Understand Our Path. So it is up there. Enjoy, learn, and get involved.